I'm Mathew DeFreitas, and you're in the collaboration space. Collaboration today is human-centric, whether you're an end user or you're in IT. Solutions have to feel natural for the end user to use, and the actual communication experience has to feel natural as well. And solutions have to be easy to manage and have predictable life cycles for IT. So we're really focusing on a human-centric need here and what can drive more compelling engagement and effective collaboration across an enterprise. Here to discuss this with me today is HP Poly's Joe Mukherjee. He's going to look into how AI and advanced AV systems can elevate that human-centric collaboration and really remove barriers for both end users and IT on a global scale. Joe, it's been a minute, but welcome back to the collaboration space. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fantastic, Matthew. It's always a pleasure to see you. How are you doing?
I'm well. I'm well. Just excited to talk about a lot of things AI and AV with you today. So if it's all right with you, I'll dive right in.
Let's go.
Awesome. I mentioned just a second ago this idea of, human-centric collaboration, removing the barriers to it, and, how natural conversation and collaboration flow, especially in like hybrid meetings. What does that look like from HP Poly's point of view, and what's driving it?
It's an interesting conversation, and it's a question that comes up on a regular basis, especially when we work alongside one of our most valued partners at AVI-SPL. Fact of the matter is that we're seeing a lot of return to office mandates and magnets and different conversations that are effectively trying to encourage people to come back into spaces. Having said that, it's fair to say that probably for the rest of our working life, there will be someone in the conference room and someone who's joining remotely. That's just the paradigm in which we live. And frankly speaking, when I put myself in the position of an employee at HP Poly, what I think is really compelling is that we've got solutions that remove that friction, that allow for meeting equity, whether you're on the go, whether you're working from your home office, or whether you're actually back in campus and collaborating with your colleagues on a face-to-face and human level. Like you said, Matthew, this is human-centric design. Whether I'm any of those ecosystems at home, on the go, in the campus, I want to be able to make sure I'm heard and seen and to get my ideas across in a way that's effective. That's human collaboration. And furthermore, technology is technology. There's a life cycle and a span where these devices will operate in these various ecosystems. And what we've come to learn working with our friends at AVI-SPL is many customers have not really invested in some of those collaboration technologies. And so how do we remove that friction? How do we make it so that the technology becomes invisible to the end user? It is just as easy to use it in a campus environment as it is when I'm working from home. That's the experience that we're striving for, that drives for really collaboration and communication, where, like I said, the technology just kind of blends away into the background. That's the goal. Now, if I put myself in the IT individuals, they're very busy. They've got tons of priorities. Things are happening, ebb and flow. So our goal is to make sure that these devices are not only manageable and predictable and deliver an experience that makes end users and customers happy, but also in terms of collaborating, communicating with tools like AVI-SPL Symphony. So Symphony is an application where our management tools are actually feeding APIs and insights into AVI-SPL Symphony. So imagine a conference room. We'd love it to be end-to-end HP Poly, but that's not the reality. There's going to be a mix of different architectures and ecosystems and OEMs, especially in those larger, more complex spaces. And so having a tool like AVI-SPL Symphony, which aggregates insights and information from ourselves, from adjacent OEMs, that gives IT decision makers predictability, manageability, lifecycle management, inventory management, asset management, all the things that need to happen in order to have a predictable ROI, and of course, to drive end user collaboration, which is so interesting because the IT decision maker is trying to make it so that the end user has no friction. And the IT decision maker has to make all of these different technologies interoperate. And that's where a phenomenal solution like Symphony kind of brings it all together. So it's a combination of end user needs and a combination of IT decision maker needs, all on the paradigm of trying to make this technology just seamless and operate without friction.
So speaking of analytics and information and the different data points that we can all look at, what is HP Poly's view on where that next stage of human-centric collaboration is, and how is it removing barriers for end users?
It's a great question. And it's a multifaceted answer, only because oftentimes customers have made a decision on, say, for example, Microsoft Teams or Zoom or Google Meet. And so what's really interesting about how these systems operate is how we can glean data from those various ecosystems, because it's not about necessarily the singular HP Poly experience. It's in combination with Microsoft Teams and Teams Pro Portal or Zoom Device Manager. And so those are the level of, I'll say, intellectual property that we're very proud to establish. I'll give you a couple of examples. In Microsoft Teams Pro Portal, we've got the ability to glean how many individuals are actually coming into a booked conference. And what does that mean? So let's say, for example, I have a bad habit of booking one of the largest conference rooms in my space, but I'm the only one that shows up. That's probably not an effective use of real estate. And of course, real estate is one of the most expensive assets for any enterprise organization. So having those types of insights on space utilization in combination with gleaning data from Microsoft Teams or Zoom Device Manager, that's going to give us real insight to drive behaviors to encourage people to make effective use of the space at our disposal. And also, when you think about it, Microsoft Places is another example, and Zoom Device Managers and their gatekeeping or wayfinding application. So when I come into an office back in campus, I may not have an assigned desk. And so I'm able to go, perhaps I'm proactive, and before I leave home, I'm going to book a desk. And so I know where I'm going to be seated. Or I may be more reactive when I've left a customer meeting and I'm coming into the office and didn't have the thought process to go and book the site in advance. Poly devices work with Microsoft Spaces, work with Zoom's gatekeeping and gate finding applications. So you can determine if you want to sit close to your colleagues, or perhaps you need some time to do some real individual think work and away from your colleagues so you're not distracted, interrupted. You can see how all these insights bring it together. So again, we're removing the friction, whether you're proactive, reactive, in a call, using a headset, using a telephone device, using a video conferencing application. All that is making sure that I know where I'm going to be, I know who's going to be around me, and I can plan my day effectively.
It's so interesting that you brought up all of the various platforms from the Microsoft Teams, the Zoom. You know, I understand that HP Poly is doing something on a one-to-one basis as far as human-centric collaboration goes with Google. Would you give our viewers and listeners a preview of
I'm
what's
going to do
going
my
on?
best, Matthew, to preview, and thank you for the segue. We are so excited, Matthew. I can't tell you. I've had a chance to sit behind this device probably a dozen plus times.
I've been
And
in there one time myself.
have you? Awesome.
Yes.
So we'll kind of banter on this one. I struggled to be able to effectively articulate what this experience really delivers. I can't do justice on a PowerPoint or in a 2D call like this. So let me explain to you what this is. This is a combination of Google software and HP hardware, bringing a one-to-one experience where imagine you're in a 3D experience and you're able to see your colleague in a way that you've probably even haven't seen them in person. So the whites of people's eyes, the inflection in their voice, it is an incredible experience, indicative of 3D without the goofy glasses that you have to wear when you go to IMAX. It is so compelling, Matthew. It is impossible to multitask. You are going to be inherently focused on the conversation taking place. And this is a Google software, HP hardware. It's a one-on-one experience, really, I'll say, focused on high-value conversations, whether that's recruitment, whether that's virtual healthcare, whether it's C-level conversations. Now, it works on Google Meet. It also works on Zoom to deliver that really immersive 3D experience. Now, having said that, it also works in Microsoft Teams. Now, so interop is a big deal, making sure that we're not introducing new barriers for collaboration, but Google Meet, Google Meet, HP Dimension, Google Beam, This combination of solution, Matthew, there is nothing like. I'd love to get your feedback, seeing that you sat in front of it a couple of times.
It's quite the experience, I'll say. You sit down and you're kind of taken aback because the person that could be thousands of miles away from you literally feels like they're sitting right across from you, right in front of you, literally. I found myself instantly in a situation where I'll use an example quickly of how I can describe my situation. Every once in a while we may have calls like this where, a something may distract you from the conversation that you're having virtually. There was no way that I could be distracted in my experience. The like you said, the whites of the person's eyes that I was looking right into the entire time, it's not, I wouldn't say mesmerizing, but it is definitely a scenario where you don't want to stop engaging with the person you're speaking with. It is quite fascinating.
It is unbelievable. I don't think there's anything like it in our, perception. I had a chance to speak to some colleagues in industry, and many of them have been, like myself, many decades in this space. But never have I experienced, and others have said the same thing, that type of experience is just absolutely mind blasting. Like you said, it takes a couple of seconds for the brain to calibrate exactly what we're seeing,
Hmm.
right? But at the 15-second, 20-second mark, all the tech just blends away. It's invisible. We're looking through a glass window at a colleague, at a stakeholder, at a customer, and it feels like you can just reach out and grab them. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's quite immersive. And just to shift now from immersive one-on-one conversation rather, we're looking at, again, so that's one way we're removing the barriers to human-centric collaboration through immersion and engagement. How else do you see, from more of, say, a group collaboration
Right,
experience,
right.
there being opportunity going forward in the future, rather, to elevate collaboration with AI and advanced AV systems?
Fantastic question. And so you're right. So just to recap, the Google Beam HP solution that we just talked about is very much a one-on-one experience. It's intended to be one-on-one to really get that heightened, elevated, augmented reality experience. And truly, it is an AI experience, to be clear. Shifting, though, into more of a group think, where we've got multiple human beings in a space, different solutions come into play. And depending on the size of the room, we've got solutions that are small, focus, medium, up to large, complex spaces, and we're in regular conversations with friends at AVI-SPL to span across all of those different types of ecosystems and places where people collaborate and communicate. What's interesting is that it really requires an eyes, the camera, ears, the microphone, and speakers for the audio component. And in larger spaces, what we're seeing is that really it's really around making sure everybody is being seen and heard. So we don't want to see people's ear canal or the back of their heads. We want to be able to make sure that everybody's whites of eyes are being shown to the far end, kind of like we talked about earlier. And so we're trying to make that experience very much conducive to what you and I experience when we're working from home. The camera's on us, our name is shown across the bottom. It's very easy to identify. But imagine we're in a group space and there's a meeting ongoing, and Mathew joins a couple of minutes late because meetings always kind of domino effect, right? So Mathew joins late, but the camera's still going to capture Mathew and show Mathew in a frame. And using APIs that we have from Zoom and Microsoft Teams, for example, even in a shared space, it'll show Mathew's name across the bottom. So it's very easy for identification for the far end participant to know, hey, I may not have known Mathew, or who is that individual? Mathew's name shows across the bottom, just like when Mathew was working from home. Again, that's removing barriers to adoption and making it much more human-centric. And you know what's really cool is that when you train the AI in Microsoft Teams or in Zoom, and you let it know that Mathew's voice and Mathew's face, well, all of what Mathew says when he's in his home office or when he's in a collaborative space, because he's trained the AI, is going to be resident in the transcript. So imagine now no more note taking is required. I can just have a normal conversation. I'm an analog guy, so usually it's pen and paper. I'm putting those things aside. I'm coming in the collab space, whether it's at home or in a shared space, and I'm having an ideation discussion. And all the note taking and all the follow-up action items are all driven by Microsoft Copilot or Zoom's AI and workspace. That's really unleashing the power of collaboration without having the clerical requirement to take notes or remember what was said or even action items. So it gives me a synopsis of the conversation, and it makes it really easy for everyone to stay on track to meet a shared objective.
Joe, thank you so much for diving into that. I truly think, group collaboration, people really need to understand and focus on that natural flow of conversation today. It used to be just about being seen and heard, and, a camera may pan, but it may take a second or two to catch up. But now we're really seeing organizations like yours hone in on how we can work with the flow of conversation, and it's amazing to see. But the human-centric conversation isn't just about the end user. You and I talked about this briefly to begin with, and the mention of Symphony. But how it's also about how easy it is to deploy systems worldwide. And could this approach become standard in enterprise meeting spaces? And again, I think, how are HP Poly and AVI-SPL partnered up to support, those worldwide system deployments? Can you speak to that?
Uh, if so, a little backstory here. For those who don't know, HP was acquired by HP acquired Polycom in 2020. And as a result, you can imagine the global supply chain, the ability to procure assets in the open market. We've just leveled up incredibly from where we were before. And not to mention AVI-SPL is also a global company, and we share a lot of same demographics in terms of customer base and so on. And so being able to do business in markets closest to our customers alongside our AV integrator community, it just delivers synergy. So the same experience that we're delivering in Tokyo can be enjoyed in Toronto or in Toledo. Now, the end device may have a different power outlet and plug into a different outlet from a power perspective. But having said that, the experience, the AI-driven experience, the collaboration with Microsoft Teams, the insights delivered into Symphony, those all remain the same regardless of the geo that our end users happen to operate. It's global supply chain, it's standards-based devices, it's customized to local requirements, power, etc. But ultimately, to the end user, if she walks into Tokyo or walks into Toronto or Toledo, it's the same thing. Hit the button, join the call, all the AI transcriptions, all the Copilot and Zoom integration, seamless.
Awesome. Yeah. So, on the management side of things, we're talking about, ensuring the solutions, like you said, work seamlessly across the entire ecosystem. And so that includes things like HP Dimension with Google Beam and multi-camera solutions and video platforms as well. I understand HP Poly has a video platform update coming.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So in the Android world, Matthew, we are, as I consider, the granddaddies of the Android video bar. We launched our first product in 2019. Fast forward to 2025, it's reasonable to expect that an update's required. We are moving from our generation 1 Android video solutions to our generation 2 Android video solutions. These are, again, small, medium, large, complex rooms, all predicated on Android platform. And fun fact, HP makes a lot of computers. So not only do we have an Android offer, but we also have a Windows-based Microsoft Teams room on Windows, Zoom room on Windows, as well as a Android flavor for either Zoom, Teams, or Google. What's interesting is that the Gen 1 to Gen 2 transition is required in order to stay lockstep with those same ecosystems. So Microsoft Teams, as an example, they are moving to a different Android version. And this is industry-wide, so it's not just necessarily HP Poly. All of the Android manufacturers have to stay in certification. And so consequently, the date that we all want to make sure our customers hear loud and clear, we have some runway. This is not something that was going to blow up on us tomorrow. We have roughly a year. So in September of 2026 is end of certification for Microsoft Teams Room on our Gen 1 devices. The Gen 1s are easily identified, Matthew. X30, X50, X70, G7500. All of them have a 0 at the end. Our Gen 2 devices have a 2 at the end, X32, 52, 72, G62. So as long as we're thinking around Gen 2, then we want to make sure that we're keeping in step with Microsoft and Zoom and Android certification. Now, we recognize that this is a commercial consideration. Customers need to buy new devices, life cycle, et cetera. We're offering a very aggressive, best I've ever had in my 10 years of service to HP, a trade-up program where we'll take competitive video conferencing devices. We'll take old HP Polycom devices. It's almost wide open webcams in order to replace a large form factor video conference bar, up to 25% discount on the X72 from a trade-up program. I encourage taking a look at the AVI-SPL blog post that talks around the Gen 1 to Gen 2 promotions. This is something that we're trying to ease the friction, because devices 2019, your cell phone probably is not 2019, if you know what I mean. So we got to keep up to date on refreshes. And so consequently, that's where the trade-up program comes into play, and it unlocks experiences like multi-camera, like adding our new A2 microphones. The A2 microphones were released at Infocom earlier this year, shipping in October. They were in the lab at AVI-SPL for, I think, 4 months before they came to market. Again, showcasing how close we work in concert with AVI-SPL. You guys get gear well before it comes into market, because we appreciate the beta testing, the feedback, the making sure that when they do launch, we check all the boxes from a human-centric and usability perspective. So Gen 2 unlocks a lot of experiences. It keeps us in lockstep with Microsoft Teams and Zoom and so on. And we're also taking away some of that commercial friction by leveraging this trade-up program, which effective until the end of January. So let's go. Time is of the essence.
I was just about to ask about that end date for that trade-up program. So you say end of January?
End of
Correct?
January. Yeah.
End of January for that trade-up program, and then September 2026 is the shift to Gen 2.
Right. So that's when the end of certification for Android 10, which is our Gen 1 bars. However, Microsoft has signaled that it'll take another year before their end of support. So 2026 is end of certification. 2027 is end of support. Like I said, we still have roughly 2 years, give or take.
There's a little time.
There's some time, right? It's not an immediate action is required this quarter, but absolutely advocating on behalf of IT and making sure that these things are operating to the best of our users' expectations. Let's make sure we're putting in the budget, we're having the conversations, we're understanding the implication. And like I said, leveraging that trade-up program to take all the old devices that have been around, perhaps even before 2019. I've seen some Polycom assets that were launched in 2015, still in the wild, right? Now, it's time to get those devices and refresh them and make sure that we're keeping in a future moving direction.
Awesome. And for everyone listening and watching, we'll have information on that trade-up program in our show notes below. Joe, it's been super fun talking with you today about human-centric collaboration, the next steps, and removing those barriers to it. Thanks again for your time. It's been a fun chat for sure.
Absolutely. And I always look forward to chatting with you, Matthew. Thank you for all the audience for the time you spend investing with us. And please do reach out to AVI-SPL. We'd be keen to have a conversation of how we make sure we're delivering human-centric experiences for all of our stakeholders. Thanks, Matthew.
Thanks again. And thank you to our viewers and listeners. Don't forget to follow us on YouTube. You can find us at AVI-SPL Info. If you prefer to listen to this podcast, you can find us on your favorite podcast app. Just search the Collaboration Space. Thanks again, and goodbye for now. For more information, visit avispl.com/HP-poly.